already starting to get warm, starting to see it steam.
Road sludge, bleh. I can get back to riding my bike versus just pushing it.
Hi, I'm Beth from Fatbike. Today I am out in the middle of the woods to make coffee as part of the Fatbike and Coffee Challenge put on by the Norks. Or maybe it's the North. I'm not entirely sure. It's spelled the and then North with an X instead of an O. If you know how to pronounce it, let me know. It's an outdoor website focusing on bike packing and routes for gravel. Pretty awesome site if you haven't ever checked it out. The organizer of this website I've actually met at the Filthy 50. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. Well, the idea of fat biking and coffee is that anytime in January, you take your fat bike and you go someplace and make coffee and document it. So I'm documenting it with you and also some photos to post on Instagram. As you can see, I'm already to where I'm going to make my coffee today, but let's go back in time to when I started this ride so I can tell you all about the ride here.
So packed on the bike, I have a feed sack handlebar bag, and in that I have my coffee cup, which has cashew milk and sugar. I also have a spoon and my ground coffee, water bottle for water, and then on my back I have my backpack, which has the stove and the pot and all the other things I need to make coffee. Today is a warm one out, and the easiest way to tell that is there are puddles of water everywhere. All the snow is melting. So the trail that I am going to is not a fat bike trail. It's actually a paved trail. We'll see how plowed it is and how easy it is to ride. With all those puddles today, the number one thing is that I am going to get wet. But to try and help with that, on the back of the bike, I have put my gravel bike fender on there, and hopefully that will keep some of the water off of my back at least. Living in inland Minnesota, tasting salt in my mouth is not necessarily a good thing. If you're watching this video in January of 2023, then there's still time to complete this challenge. I will leave in the description box below a link to the rules, but they're pretty simple. Ride your fat bike, make and drink coffee, and just enjoy your time, and then you have to post about it. This ride will mostly be on city streets up and back to where I am having coffee. I think it'll be about 4 miles each way. This is what riding on melted roads is like. There's a path beside the road for this section. We'll see how this goes. I often fear this path because it's a brand new path and so people just don't know it's here. And with the snow this winter, people have been known to just drive right up on the path. So far the path has not been clear by any means, but on the fat bike I haven't really had any issues. I might have spoken too soon. On here, it's just not plowed at all. Fender is all wet, got a little bit of wetness on my boots and on my arms. But I'm relatively dry. I'm back on the road as the road is drier than the path, and also there was just one of those curb cuts that was not plowed at all. So I can get on the road without having to get off my bike versus staying on the path I would have had to get off my bike. Wow. Trying to avoid the major puddles today. I was unsuccessful there. I'm a little wetter now. Take a look down. The road is nice and dry again. And now we're back to fully snow-covered roads, which I prefer over the very wet roads, even though they're slower. When you ride in these conditions, unlike your car getting covered in car sludge or road sludge, you get covered in road sludge, and it's just not a feeling I enjoy. Fairly last minute, I decided to put on almost fully waterproof pants, and I think that was the right choice. My calves and shins have stayed dry. Water's rolling off the outside of them. That's exactly what I want. I have made it to the entrance of Rice Creek. It doesn't look like it's plowed at all. So that's where I'm headed. So I felt like I had to make the corner. There we go. I'm gonna try and find some place that I went to this summer. See if I can find it. This is still very solidly packed. And though it is above freezing right now, very solidly packed. This is also technically a bandit trail. The shade is also helping. I might have just passed it. Turning around, seeing if that's it. gonna walk my bike down here. Might just be the spot for today's coffee adventure. I think I'm gonna choose this as my spot. Make my coffee today. This is Race Creek right here. It's mostly frozen, but it is moving water, so I would not chance it, especially today when it is this warm out. That is all dirty water on my backpack from riding here.
I have come to Lock Lake Park to make my coffee, so I think it's time to make some coffee.
I'm currently stomping down a little spot here for me to make as a little flat spot to make the coffee on. I think that should be big enough. Okay, in my backpack here, I have everything to set up.
That's not actually how it works, so let me time lapse it for you.
Now that I'm all set up, it's time to boil some water. I need to pump it a few more times to get the flame to go blue. There we go. It's exactly what we want to see.
So I'm gonna pour some water from my water into the kettle to get it boiling. Flame is hot. I'm just making 1 cup of coffee, just enough for me. So you don't need a ton of water here.
Kettle is on there. I'm gonna get everything else set up for when it starts to boil.
So in here, I think I explained it on my right here, I've got a spoon for stirring, a thermos which has cashew milk and sugar and a little bit of vanilla in it because I'm not a black coffee drinker. And then I've got a little tea bag that I filled with coffee grounds to make my coffee today. It's already starting to get warm, starting to see it steam. One thing that would have been nice would have been a chair or foam pad to sit on so that I wasn't squatting or sitting in the cold snow.
Not sure if you can see that, but there's steam coming out. Means we've gotta be boiling. I'm gonna start to turn that off, let that run out of fuel, and I will brew the coffee. The coffee bag in there. I'm gonna let that brew for just a minute and then I'll pour it into my thermos. I can smell the coffee, so I think it's time to pour it. Got about half a cup of coffee in there.
So I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy my coffee before I ride back. So interesting that because all the snow is so heavy, it's actually like falling out of the trees, and I just keep hearing it. Not sure if you can hear the road noise and the ambulance right now, but it's those kinds of noises that you're like, oh yeah, I really am in the middle of the city. But if you look around, it doesn't quite feel like it. I'm just thankful for a day where I don't have to have gloves on my hands. They're still cold. They're not frozen yet. Almost time for me to pack up and head out. Before I do, I want to get one good picture. Today is day 15 of 31 days of winter biking. I'm riding every day in January as part of a 31 days of winter biking challenge, and I'm creating shorts to document each and every day. You can watch them by clicking up here. Here's just another angle of my short from day 15.
It's time to clean up all my things and head back home.
The spoon.
Oh, there's a spoon. Almost thought I lost the spoon out here. Coffee is back on the bike. I'm gonna put my backpack on, GoPro back on the handlebars, and we'll get going. I gotta climb back up this hill. GoPro effect makes it look so much less steep. Almost there. I can get back to riding my bike versus just pushing it. So what I'm on right now is usually paved, or underneath the snow is paved. And we're back out of the woods, back into the city. like talking to you guys because it makes it more okay for me to talk to myself. I'm definitely a thoughts out loud kind of person. Some people don't like that. But if I'm talking to a camera, then there's a reason that I'm talking out loud to myself. Road sludge. Blech. This ride will be just shy of 8 miles, but I think the more important stats are that I included 1 adventure, 1 fat bike, and 1 good cup of coffee. I even wore my coffee-eneering socks to be in the spirit of always be coffee-eneering. And that was my fat bike and coffee challenge and adventure. A challenge put on by the North to get people out on fat bikes adventuring and enjoying a good cup of coffee in the month of January. It was fun to get out in the warm January sun that we don't see very often here in Minnesota. This challenge would have been much harder for me had the sun not been out and had it not been quite so warm. It was also fun to get out to someplace that I haven't been in the wintertime. Make a pot of coffee, more like a cup of coffee, and then ride home. Fun Sunday adventure. Hope you're getting out on adventures wherever you are. And just spend some time in the woods enjoying the sights and sounds of being in nature. If you liked this video, give it a like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Beth. See ya. Lots of spray. Trying to avoid the major puddle. Ugh.
I've got shoes today. Boots, actually, because it's winter time and snowy out.
I have come to lock. So I'm just gonna. So this time, makes me jump a little bit. Someplace that I haven't been on my fat bike before in the wintertime. I was so happy to, and that was my fat bike and coffee adventure. January warm in the warm sun in January. And that was my fat bike and coffee. And that was my fat bike exploring. And that was my fat bike and coffee. And that was my fat bike and coffee. Hey, it's okay, you're welcome. What can I say? Except you're welcome. And it's not quite so weird. You ever thirsty but you have to pee? Do you have this like argument going on inside your head? Well, my tongue wants water, but my bladder doesn't need anymore. These are the thoughts inside my head. These are characters in my mind you can search the world and you'll never ever find. But I think the more important stats, now I have to do it again.